All right, so we should have our slideshow up and running.
Yes,
All
we're
right,
good.
perfect. All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Olga St Pierre. I am a senior real estate living specialist with Keller Williams Real Estate. My true focus for the last number of years have been working with baby boomers age 55 and older, clients that are somewhere on the cusp of either preparing for that move, getting ready for those golden years, or almost there or in their beginning stages. And my goal for today is, if you are kind of like in the beginning stages, today my goal is to ask you some questions and help you also have you ask some of the questions as well, and get you thinking and on the right path. That's what I believe is all about. I am number one, I am more of an educator than anything else, and helping you with planning. And then, of course, a big part of what we do is real estate disposition to help you, because for a lot of you, real estate is the biggest investment that we own, that help us in our retirement years. Just a little bit about what we do. We've been in business for the last 15 years with the practice of helping our clients move across the United States and Canada. And our team mission is to help you become a homeowner, and then also as you transition through life stages, to help you go from one stage to the other and be there as a resource to you when it pertains to real estate, your home, as well as the community. We do have all-in-one complete move solution from start to finish, and our concierge service is absolutely free of charge to you. Think of us as your yellow pages. Don't go online and just get some random Joe because he advertises online. If you're looking for resources, professionals, contractors, anyone and anything that you can think of to help you in your planning process, please reach out to us. We have those resources available, and those recommendations are absolutely complimentary to you. This way you are getting somebody who has been vetted, who has been used by others, and is someone that is known in our community. So let's jump in and talk about it. And one of the things that I want to kind of brainstorm with you and get you thinking in the right direction is the fact that senior moving, when you have been in your home for more than 30, 40 years, that move is very much different. You have accumulated things and memories from potentially raising your family and living in that home and having so many experiences. And overall, making a move is one of life's top 10 stressors. If you think about it, it's something that is on the same level as someone passing away, getting sick, losing a job. And with time, the home that we know of as our getaway from stress, and somewhere where maybe we go and hide because we just had a bad day at work, at some point that same home may become actually that high mountain that we can't climb anymore because the steps are too steep. There's too many of them. Now we have to go down to the basement to use our laundry, and that's just too much. And that yard that we used to love so much is now a hindrance. It's just too much to handle, right? And then also, as we get through different stages in our life journey, we have different priorities. Our health challenges are also changing. And now we have new decisions to make to see what makes sense for us right now in our next chapter in our life journey. And for many seniors and older adults, this is where it becomes a feeling of loneliness, helplessness, frustration, and overwhelm, because people don't know where to start. And then, as you can imagine, when you open up Google and you start doing research, you have 30 different pages with 10 different things on each page, and you just don't know where to look for information, what is going to be truly something from expert with honest information. And then it just becomes too much, and then you kind of give up and say, you know what, I'll just deal with it another day. And then unfortunately another day doesn't come, and then here we are, and then we start to have issues. So this is where kind of a lot of the workshops that I do in our senior series, this is where the information is coming from, is from the result of me working for so many years with seniors and their families. And these are the things that we go through when we sit down to brainstorm and say, okay, tell me what's on your mind. What is bothering you? So I'm a big believer, a lot of you know, using a notebook. Here we go. I have a couple of different ones and I talk about it every video because I think it's that important that when you are talking about retirement planning and jotting down to figure out what is your next step in your life journey, stop keeping it all in your head, because all it's going to do is going to rattle in the back of your mind and your subconscious, and you're not going to be able to sleep well. You're going to be constantly anxious. So I encourage you to write all of these things down so that way your brain is going to get a little bit of a break. So that way you can actually search for answers to the questions that you write down, but at least it's not going to be working in overdrive. And I think that is the goal, is just to put some things and thoughts on paper and then create a game plan. And that's what I'm going to help you do today. So in your notebook, these are some of the questions that I always ask my senior clients and their families when we start to work together. And it could be something that you're working on for not right now. Maybe it's next year, maybe it's 2 to 5 years down the road. However, the best time to think about these questions is today, not 2 years down the road or 5 years down the road, because at that point, a lot of the times it may be too late, because then what you're doing is you are reacting to the things that need to happen quickly. And that's the worst time to make a decision. So some of the questions that I recommend that you ask yourself when you sit down to brainstorm is, how do I feel about my decision that, hey, my instinct, my gut is telling me that there may be a reason why I should be making a move. Why is that? And then a couple of things. Where am I going to live? What about my finances? What about the things that I'm going to take with me? And then, of course, what about the stuff that is not going with me? Who is going to help me? Because most of the time, if you are by yourself, or it's just maybe another person to help you, it's a lot. 100% of the people that I work with don't realize just how much stuff they accumulate when they are starting to think about the process of, I need to do something, I'm probably going to need to make a move. Okay. What about my home? And one of the biggest questions is, how do I start and where do I start? So that's some of the questions that I'm going to ask you to think about when you sit down to think about your own decision-making process for your own journey after we're done with this workshop. And then I encourage you to use the printout, the workshop that I'm sharing with you is kind of like a guide to help you in your thinking process. All right. So the first, we're going to talk about mental preparation. It has been proven by studies from many institutions. When I was doing the research originally for when I designed this specific workshop in my series, is that mindset about any kind of decision is about 90% of what you're trying to accomplish. So thinking about the move and changing your mindset about why and how you're doing it is 90% of the battle, believe it or not. And I want you to think about it. So what I encourage you to do today is to change the way you're thinking about making that change, because I understand it's huge. And I also understand that it's very stressful. However, number one, let's think positive about our decision, because you're not going to downsize. You're not downsizing. You are right sizing. You're making a right decision for where you are right now in your life journey. And you're not just going to make a move. You're going to make a move forward, because you have so many amazing years ahead of you. I'm encouraging you to go from fear and worry, because you're here and you're going to make a plan, to being confident and positive with anticipation, because it's something exciting that is waiting for you. You're not going to be feeling of leaving something behind and losing something, but appreciating the new life that is going to unfold for you, because you're going to shed a lot of weight off your shoulders. I guarantee that. And I don't want you to feel like you're in a crisis, but being open to new opportunities, because you're here and you're going to start and you're going to feel great about the fact that you are moving forward with a game plan. Just jotting some things down, I guarantee you, is going to make you feel like you're making that move and you're improving. So where am I going to live? That's the first question that we're going to, I'm going to ask you. And I'm asking you to kind of think about it, and let's brainstorm. This is where I want you to think about. What does that space looks like? I want you to think about it and look at it from a bird's eye view. So you're going to review your options and say, you know, I would love to be in something that is 1 story. I would love to be in something that's a lot smaller than where I am now. Maybe I'm in a 2-story home. I want you to also think about, which is a very important decision, is where do you want to be and where do you want to live? If you want to live in the same area, same town, maybe the same county, that's one decision. That's not as challenging because then you're going to be downsizing and moving somewhere close. But if you're going to tell me, hey, Olga, I really would like to relocate down south because I just don't want to deal with the cold anymore. I want to go to the Carolinas. Maybe I want to go to Georgia or Florida. Well, that kind of move is very different. And it's almost done in 2 phases. Phase 1, you handle all your affairs here. And then phase 2 is you finally decide where are you going to settle in that southern state. The type of home. Do you want to be maybe in a 55+ independent living community where you have amenities, you have a clubhouse, you don't have to worry about taking care of snow, grass, and you have that social interaction, you have activities, yet you're still fully living and handling everything yourself. And that can be a townhouse or a single home or maybe a condo. Or if you just truly want to be independent, you may want to be in a separate condo completely. Maybe you want to be an apartment. Maybe you just don't want to own anymore and you don't want any care whatsoever, okay? Or you say, you know what? I still want to be all by myself. I want my own house and I'm just going to be in a rancher. I just want a 2-bedroom, 2 to 3 bedroom rancher somewhere. I still want a yard because I love to garden. So think about all those things. The next point is very important. I want you to think about your health. Health is, once you get to your golden years, is going to be the second most expensive part of your budgeting. And as you know, as you get through further and further in your golden years, that budget is going to have to increase because your health is going to deteriorate. So ask yourselves, where are you going to be in the next 5 to 10 years? You guys know yourselves better than anything else. And yes, that is an honest and a difficult conversations to have with yourself, but oh, so important. Because if you tell yourself, you know what, probably in the 5 to 10 years, depending on how I'm feeling and I know where I'm at, I may need some help with personal care and some health care. So perhaps doing something where I am in independent living now, but then having to go into assisted living or having that nearby is going to be important. Then that's a different type of living arrangements that we may have to look into. That means we need to look at some senior living options in the communities. And of course, home care and long-term care are also important. And also, if you're going to tell me, which is what majority of our clients tell me, is like, Olga, I don't care, I'm going to stay in my home, then we're going to talk a little bit more. What does that mean? And how do we make sure that you are staying safe in your home? And this is where the conversation of reverse mortgage is going to come in as an option. Is this a good option for you? Maybe yes, and maybe no. Okay. I love looking at this graph because this is where we're talking about the senior living options as a spectrum. So if you look at it, and I love this as a bird's eye view, just so you understand where some of these communities come in and what do they offer. You start out from the bottom left as a part of the graph, where you're going to have the lowest level of care and the lowest cost. And of course, as you go up to the right and all the way to the bottom, this is where the things are going to be more expensive. So if you want some social interaction and you are in the rancher or in a regular town home or single family home, you can always come in and do adult daycare, where you come in and get some social interaction. You get something to eat. There is usually some kind of exercising involved, and you just have fun maybe a few days a week. And as you progress in your golden years and maybe you need more and more care, then we're progressing from independent living, going into potentially assisted living, depending on how your healthcare is. Then we're going into memory care and also a more and more around the clock care if that is what is needed, which is going to be the most expensive option. This graph is also great because this one is actually sharing with you the amenities that each of the senior communities offers. Depending on what you're looking for, I actually have quite a few sheets and questionnaires that you can use to kind of make a decision and figure out what are some of the options that are important to you. And then you can compare and see which senior option is going to offer the things that you're looking for the most. So take the time after this workshop to go back to this slide and the one before that to look at it, to review it, look at each line and see who offers these things, and then kind of maybe check them off or circle them so that way you can review more information and then go back to it later. Next up, let's talk about finances. This is huge, and I have a few videos on my channel talking about budgeting, where you are thinking about this and trying to figure out, well, my budget right now is this, but what is my budget going to look like when I'm retired and I'm in my golden years and I'm going to enjoy my retirement? And I encourage you very much so not to skip this step, because having a budget and understanding your expenses is the foundation of planning and having a peace of mind, I assure you. Okay, so if you are thinking about going into a, maybe buying something in the 55 plus community or going into other senior community, where are the funds that are going to come to enter into that community? Some of them have deposits down, some of them have lump sum amounts and then monthly amounts that you're going to have to work with. So this is where I recommend that you meet with members of your team. And who is on your team? You will have your financial advisor, your estate planning attorney, your accountant. These are the three ones that are the pillars of your team to help you make plans. I also encourage you that if you don't have any of those on your team yet, please get one, start having the conversations. The initial consultations with all of them are either free or very inexpensive, but they're going to also ask you some questions and help you kind of get started on your planning. And it's important that you go through all of them. They're not cheap. They're so important to help you make plans for your golden years that can be, 20, 30, or 40 years. Which housing option may be also best based on the financial decisions that you are going to make? You might realize when you look at the bigger picture and say, you know what, I don't have as much money as I thought I was going to have. So how can you adjust some steps now to help you move in the right direction? If you need recommendations for these members of your team, please don't just pick somebody out of Google. Ask for friends, family, professional organizations for recommendations. And I am more than happy to share with you some of the best people that we work with and that we recommend, who I know truly specialize in what they do. I also don't recommend that you go to a friend who you know is an attorney, because not all attorneys are the same. And when you're planning for your golden years, you want to work with someone who specializes in estate planning. It's life and estate planning attorney. And it's really best if that is all they focus on, because then they're the master of their craft. What we also talk about here, as you can see a sidebar, this is what I want you to think about. Do we have personal savings, income, pension payments? That's your private pay. What about your health insurance? What does that look like? You are going to have Medicare, but Medicare is only going to cover maybe 2/3 of your expenses in retirement. Do you have long-term care insurance? What does that look like? What is that going to cover? And how long that insurance is going to last you, because some plans are not forever. What are your assets? Your home, your retirement accounts, your life insurance. If you are a veteran, very important, besides your basic pension, there's also aid and attendance benefits that you have available to you. A lot of veterans don't know about it. And this is one of the things that I am very passionate about, because my husband is a veteran, to help you and plan and take advantage of everything that is available to you and to a veteran spouse. And public assistance, Medicaid waivers, depending on which state you are in. It's very important to plan for those things, because it's not an easy program to get on, okay? And this is where an attorney can help you with that. A financial advisor can help you with your planning, your assets, and then your accountant can help you figure out where you are going to be with your taxes. Next up, talk and having an honest conversation with your loved ones. I can't tell you how critically important it is. And yes, this is some of the homework that I'm going to send you home with today. The first one is when you start to have these conversations is you need to have your things in order. So for example, where are all of your important documents stored right now? If they're all over the place and they're not in a box or maybe filing cabinet, then you need to get them all together. Your directive, your will, if you have power attorneys ready, if you have a living trust set up to help you while you are still in full capacity of your wits. All of your list of accounts, digital asset inventory, your insurance, all of the things need to be together. And if this is overwhelming to you because it's a lot, I'm going to share with you a link where I have the resources and the kind of like the checklist for you to help you get started on this important process. When you are incapacitated, when you pass away, who is going to be the executor of your estate? I recommend that you speak with the person that you have in mind because not everybody feels comfortable doing that. It's a big responsibility. Some loved ones may feel too emotional about working on this. You need to ask their permission, say, hey, do you feel comfortable? May I rely on you? May I count on you to help us with that? And then also your team, other people who are going to be involved in helping you with your estate and planning and conversations need to know who the members of your team are, and your team needs to know who those executor and maybe power attorney, who those people are going to be for communication purposes. And also, what are your wishes? That is one of the most important things that I think that you need to pass on to your family because they don't know what you are thinking. And those are difficult decisions to make. For example, if you're on life support and you cannot make your decisions, do you want to be kept on that life support or do you want to be taken off after a certain period of time? And the second one is, do you want to be an organ donor? So those are the things that you need to let your family know. And these are the things that you put in your healthcare directive that your power of attorney is going to have access to should you not be able to make your decisions. So talking to the attorney about the 5 most important documents that you need to have while you're still living and prepping for your golden years is very important. All right, what are we taking with us? We're talking about all the stuff that we love and have around us. This is where my recommendation to you is to talk to someone who can help you with making plans. It could be moving manager. A lot of the times when I'm working with clients, this is something that I help them with. I'm like a general manager because that is part of our concierge service. We talk about having a floor plan, designing something and saying, okay, we're thinking about, we're going to be having a 1,500 square feet. That's going to be maybe 1 bedroom or 2 bedrooms and an office. What are we keeping for sure and what we are not keeping? Okay, so this is where we're talking about decluttering and actually right-sizing things we're keeping, donating, we're going to be selling, throwing away, and making sure that as we go through our things, all important things are going to be put aside in a filing cabinet or in a colorful box for easy location. And again, here we do have a declutter workshop that I teach every month, so you are welcome to join me. This is where we talk about our struggles, who is doing what and what progress they're at, and then we just make sure that we support you in your decluttering journey. And of course, if you need some recommendations for whatever that looks like in your own world in terms of decluttering, we're here to help you as well. So who can help me from start to finish? One thing that I want you to remember, that making a move does not have to be something that you have to tackle by yourself. If, for example, your family is far away or they don't have time, or you don't have any family, there are people that can help you, and we're here to help you. And yes, it does take a community. So think of the people that may be on that list. It could be moving company, contractors to help you do some repairs. If you need some muscle to take things out of the attic or the basement, we can help you with that. If you need someone to help you kind of stay focused and saying, all right, do we really want to take this or we need to take this? Then help from a professional organizer can also be helpful. Cleaners, packers, anyone else that you can think of, that is what we do to help you make this process easier so that you are not overthinking and then discouraging yourself and talking yourself out of things and going down that rabbit hole that we definitely don't want you to go into. So the things that we're not taking with us, don't worry, we have a plan. Once you tell us, okay, the items that are marked with the green tape are all the things that we're taking with us. Now, Olga, I need your help with the rest of these things. This is where we kind of tackle everything and figure out, can we make some money by selling those items, by donating those items so that we can use that as a write-off on your taxes? Or if those items just need to be thrown away, we can help you with that as well. Happiness is a place between too little and too much. And it's a very, very true statement if you think about it. What about our home? So this is where I come in to help you figure out what that process looks like and what does that mean. And again, I'm encouraging you to think about and get your home equity report sooner than later, especially with how the market has been jumping up and down in the last 2 to 3 years. You do need to know what the equity on your home is, because if that's going to help you in your planning for your golden years, because I guarantee you, your financial advisor, your attorney, and your accountant are going to ask you these questions. Do you know what your home is worth? Is there any repairs that may need to be done to make it better? And what does that look like? Because you might need to have some time to do those things. So what we talk about is the current market conditions in your city, in your neighborhood, in your school district. We also talk about what to expect and what kind of conditions for the sale are we talking about. A lot of the times clients will come to me and they say, you know what, I need to get moving sooner than later. I need to sell sooner than later. So then we kind of figure out, what does that look like in order to happen for that quick sale to take place? Okay. And of course, who is going to be there to help you throughout the process? So that's just some general idea. Of course, the process itself is involved. And this is where, again, we are there for you to help you every step of the way. Who is going to be assisting when you're having the conversations? If you are a family member and you're trying to assist your parents, your grandparents, or maybe someone else, I just wanted to show you this kind of conversation timeline. And that's just one of the things that I know a lot of the family members find challenging, because perhaps their parents or their family members are very independent, or they're stubborn, or they think they can handle everything themselves, or they will tell you, I am fine, I have it under control. So I have some kind of conversation starters and thoughts here to help you to have those conversations, to maybe jar their memory and to help you and guide you through. So having to have these conversations early, so that way there is no pressure and there is no surprise, but at the same time, it is showing your loved one that you care, and all you want to do is just to help them and be right beside them. So here we are. Well, you're going to tell me, Olga, this all sounds great, and oh my God, there's just so much stuff to think about, but you know what? I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm just going to stay in my home because this is what I know is what's comfortable. And you know what? The common phrase that I hear from my clients is like, Olga, they're going to take me out of here in the box. And what I can tell you, in working with a lot of the senior communities and home care agencies and having all these conversations, is that if that happens and you actually pass away in your home, that is the best case scenario. However, most of the time that does not happen. So this is why we're having these important conversations, and I'm asking you these uncomfortable questions that you have to pose to yourself. Because what if this doesn't happen? And what if you fall, then what? Then you have to go into a rehab for a few weeks to get back on your feet. And then the rehab facility is telling you, well, ma'am, you cannot go back to your home. Then what? So those are the questions that I want you to think about. 77% of Americans aged 50 and older say that they want to remain in their home. That's what the AARP survey says. Okay. However, falling is the #1 reason why people are not able to stay in their home after it happens. And then reactive decisions have to be made. And where do I go from here? I have to make a decision in a matter of days. And how am I going to pay for where I need to go? And this is where we are jumping quickly and we are solving issues and concerns with kind of like putting out fires. Okay, so the plans should be made long before it becomes apparent that it's difficult to climb stairs and stepping into a bathtub. Okay, so this is where we tap in the resources and say, if you're absolutely sure, then how do we make sure that your home is safe for you? And if you have a lot of equity in your home, or you have no more mortgage, how do we tap into it to help us? And this is where one of the things that I bring up is an option for having a reverse mortgage. And I know that reverse mortgage has a really bad reputation from bad news, social media, and things like that. And this is why I always suggest that if you do want to think about this as an option, you need to speak with someone who specifically specializes and does only reverse mortgages. So today, I have ken.sawan with us, who is a reverse mortgage specialist. So Ken, I want to pick your brain. If a few of my clients and maybe everybody on this call says, Olga, this is awesome, but I really want to start by staying at home and I have no mortgage and I want to tap into my equity. What are some of the things that you bring in as value? How do we start this conversation? What do we need to know?
Olga, great questions. And by the way, thank you for allowing me to chat a little bit.
Absolutely.
It's kind of funny going back to your conversation earlier. We use the same expressions: aging in place, trusted advisors. It's very educative. We're not here to sell anything. We're not here to buy anything. All we want to do is make sure anybody involved in this discussion understands what they're getting into. Personally, I've been doing this for about 33 years exclusively, long time, almost since reverses first started. And I will tell you this, they are not for everybody. If for some reason I feel or we feel in our discussions that it's not a viable option, then we'll tell you right up front, because we don't want someone getting into a reverse mortgage who should not have one. As I talk to my people around the country, I always ask them, why do you want a reverse mortgage? That's the basis of all of this. If they say, well, I want to live in my house, but I can't navigate it or maneuver around anymore, well, then is it possible to use the proceeds from a reverse mortgage to remodel the home? Wider doorways, maybe bring the bedroom downstairs if it's a 2-story. Maybe put those little lifts in, that go up the stairs, ramps, all that kind of stuff. If they say, I'm very healthy and physically I'm fine, but I can't afford to pay my taxes and insurance and my HOA fees anymore, we can use the reverse mortgage to help offset those costs. So if I know exactly what a borrower is looking for, or a client is looking for, the reason for the reverse mortgage, I can structure the loan, customize it to what their needs would be. And for those of you who don't know what a reverse is, it's just like a regular mortgage, meaning the borrower always owns a home. We put a mortgage on it. When the borrower passes away, if they live there for the rest of their life, when they pass away, we do not get the home. Everyone seems to think the lender takes the house. We do not get it. It's going to transfer to the estate or the heirs, just like a regular mortgage. No different. The biggest difference with the reverse is you make no payments back on the money that we give you. So unlike a conventional mortgage where you've got to make a monthly payment or they foreclose on your home, with the reverse, you don't have any payments. So it makes it much more affordable for the borrower to tap into a substantial part of the equity in their home. And as long as they live in or own the property, they never make a payment back. So it's basically taking an asset, what we call a dead asset, and utilizing that equity that, frankly, you built up over 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Does that help? Good.
Absolutely. The one thing I want you to touch on is, like, how early can you start and what are some of the critical things that we need to know?
When you say how early, you mean what age can you start at?
Yes.
Okay. So if you're talking about the FHA product, what they call a HECM, or a home equity conversion mortgage, if you're a single person, you've got to be 62. If you're a couple, one must be over 62, but the other one can be under 62. So you have a spouse who's 55 and you're 75, you can still do a reverse mortgage. The unique part about the reverse mortgage, though, is it's all dependent on your age. So an older person, say someone who's 85 years of age, is going to receive a lot more money than someone who's 65 years of age, because that 85-year-old has a much shorter life expectancy actuarially than a 65-year-old. Now, if it's a husband and wife and she's 55 and he's 75, we're going to base everything on her 55 years of age, and they're going to get a lot less money. But the FHA has changed that rule. That changed that rule several years ago. There are some reverse mortgages that are proprietary that will take borrowers as young as 55 years old, but they're not FHA insured. So it's a whole nother kind of conversation. If you get a reverse mortgage, you will still be responsible to pay your taxes, your insurance, your HOAs. Any property charges would still be your responsibility. So unlike a lot of conventional mortgages where they roll that payment into they roll that expense into the payment, we don't do that with the reverse mortgage. What about, you want to answer those questions? You want me to answer them?
Oh, no, this is all you. This is all you. The questions are for you. So Sherry is asking about the mortgage insurance. That's a good question.
Yes, very good. So let me tell you the two downsides about a reverse mortgage. When someone says, Ken, this sounds too good to be true, what's the catch? Well, there are no catches, but the one downside is potentially it's going to eat up a lot of the equity in the home. So for instance, if I give you $200,000 today, and I'm charging you 7.5%, which is kind of the average rate today, everything's much higher, of course, that $200,000 is going to be $215,000 at the end of the first year, $230,000 at the end of the second. It's going to compound on top of itself. Okay, so that's one issue. The downside is going to eat up a lot of the equity, or potentially eat up a lot of the equity. I'll get you. What did Sherry say? She's a counselor? What did she say?
Yeah,
there?
Sherry is our local counselor here in Bucks County who works with first-time home buyers, but she's expanding her horizons, right, Sherry?
Nice. Welcome, Sherry. We could use more counselors for sure.
For sure.
The second downside is these things.
There you
these
go.
things-
So some of it is for you too, right? Yeah.
There you go. These things can get expensive. So let me give you an idea to put to Sherry's point. The FHA program, they insure their program against any losses that the borrower or the estate may encounter. That's what we call mortgage insurance. And that's actually a charge that is calculated based on the value of the home. And it's 2% of the value. So if you've got a $400,000 home and you want to do a reverse mortgage, that mortgage insurance is $8,000 right up front. Now, you don't pay it out of your pocket. It's all financed into the loan. The reason for it is, let's go back to 2008, 2009, when we had the meltdown in the market, and there were a lot of homes that had lost 30 or 40% of their value. With the reverse mortgage, if that happens and the borrower passes away, but there's not enough money from the sale of the property to pay back the reverse mortgage, that mortgage insurance takes care of that deficit amount. It's a huge protection for the kids or the estate. It's a protection for the borrowers if they sell their home and it's upside down. It's mandatory. You can't get away from it. So everything that we do with the reverse mortgage is based on the value of the home. Interest rates, mortgage insurance, the whole 9 yards is based, because we don't know what you're going to owe back when you pass away. But Sherry, to your point, two downsides: they can get expensive, and it's going to eat up a considerable portion of the equity of the home. Now, if a borrower doesn't really care about what they're going to owe when they pass, or they have no children, or maybe the children are well off, or maybe they don't like the children, then the reverse mortgage makes a lot of sense, because it's giving that borrower the opportunity to tap into that equity that they have accrued over the years. Does that help?
One of the
Okay,
other
good.
questions was, if there are suggestions or tips for solo agers, and maybe you touched upon it, if this is someone who is this person is by themselves, and perhaps they don't have any loved ones. Is this a good option?
Again, my knee jerk says yes, because you're sitting on this dead asset. It's
Mhm.
kind of like having 5 acres of land, and if you don't farm it, if you don't do anything with it, it just sits there. This is a piece of property. It's worth 300, 500, $1 million. If you need the equity, take it out. Again, you can't. I've got to be very careful how I say this. A lot of folks say, I don't want to reverse mortgage because I can get foreclosed on. So then I say, well, how do you get foreclosed on if you're not making any payments? Well, I don't know. Well, where did you hear that? Well, my brother's friend's uncle's dad in California lost his house when he got a reverse mortgage. Well, how do you lose it? Well, he didn't pay his taxes. Okay, you got to pay your real estate taxes. And that's not us foreclosing, that's the county. Or, well, he moved in with his kids. Can't do that. You got to live in your house. You got to own your home. You have to maintain it, make sure it doesn't fall down. And you've got to pay your property charges. As long as you do those 4 things, you can never be foreclosed on when getting a reverse mortgage. So for the single individual, it's a much easier conversation, assuming the numbers work, meaning they don't owe too much on the property. It's an eligible piece of property, that kind of stuff. Oh, by the way, the most popular reverse mortgages are done on single family homes. That makes sense. We can also do them on condominiums, as long as the condominiums are FHA approved. And if they're not, we can work to try to get them approved. And there's a few other ones that we throw in. The townhomes are eligible, duplexes, that kind of stuff. Olga, I missed that question from Sherry. What was that?
No worries. Sherry says that the loan is based on the value. Years ago, FHA had a loan limit regardless of the value. Has that changed?
So here's some minutia and a little something I'm going to tell you. When you file a reverse mortgage on your home, the lien or the mortgage is filed for 150% of the value. So if you have a house worth $500,000 and you do a reverse, they're going to slap a lien on there of $750,000. Reason being, every year that mortgage balance will go up and up and up and up a little bit. They want to make sure, yes, Sherry, they want to make sure that the mortgage, when you pass away or sell, has been filed for high enough to pay back whatever you may owe. Now, if you only owe $200,000 and you sell your home, you're not paying back that $750,000. You're only paying back that $200,000. They do have, and I think, Sherry, what you're referencing is they do have maximum appraised values under the FHA product. So if you live in, you live in a $2 million home on the beach, I cannot get you a percentage of the full $2 million. The limit now that the FHA allows us to appraise is $1,149,830 or something like that. Basically, what that means is I can't get you a percentage of the entire $2 million. It's only the $1.149 million. That was just recently raised in January. I think, Sherry, that's what you're alluding to, I think.
Yeah, she says it's pretty much lower.
Absolutely. It went up last year. It went up twice. I think it started at 870, jumped to 930, and then it went to $1,149,000. But you're right. It used to be a lot lower. Good question, though.
So can you share with us, once you put the reverse mortgage in place, what can you use that money for? Is there any limits?
No. The only limitations that we tell them is any mortgages, liens, or judgments that are filed against the property at time of closing, they'd have to be paid off, because we need to be in the first position. That's very important. Let me bounce back on Sherry. Just so you all know, on this call, we said Sherry's a counselor. One of the consumer protections that we have to abide by, and this applies to all reverse mortgages out there, is a consumer or a borrower must be counseled before an application can be processed. And the counselors are used to make sure the borrower understands what they're getting into, that no one has talked the borrower into it, mostly the lender, and that the borrower understands the ramifications of the reverse mortgage, how they work, and that kind of stuff. It's a very, very important part. It's been around since 1989, and it kind of keeps us this side of the jailhouse door. Because, again, if I try to push someone in to get a reverse mortgage and they go to Sherry and they tell Sherry, I don't really want this thing, the whole process stops right there. It's a very, very important part of the process. But going back to what Olga asked me a moment ago, folks, we don't really care what you use the money for, as long as we pay off any existing debt against the house. Your credit does not need to be stellar anymore. There are some new products or new protocols that we follow to say, if you have dings on your credit, or you had some issues, or maybe you got sick and your credit got really bad, the reverse mortgage, now we have some options for you as well to get you qualified. It's a little bit more cumbersome, but that's the way life is. Sherry, I agree. There aren't too many counselors, and we continue losing them, unfortunately.
So Sherry's asking for some referrals. So are you doing the counseling, or is it done through like a third party for the client? How does that work for education purposes?
Me personally.
Okay. No, like when you say that the counseling needs to be done, it's an important part of the process. Are you the one doing the counseling? No. Okay. So how
No,
is
that's
that?
illegal. Sherry, I can't even steer borrowers to you. When a borrower is interested, I send out a proposal, and that proposal will list, I think it's 7 national companies and 4 or 5 local companies based on the borrower's zip code. I cannot steer them to anybody. If I'm being shopped by the feds and they say, hey, ken.sawan steered them to Sherry, I could lose my license in that particular state. So sadly, just like everything, there's good counselors, there's bad counselors. If I know the good ones, I can't steer them to that individual. That's what I was looking for, that list. Yes. Yeah, but it's a little outdated, unfortunately. It's probably a program that needs to be revamped, because I think, though, there are some old agencies on there. We've asked, the National Reverse Mortgage Lenders Association, which is our lobby group in DC, to change that list, make it more up to date. And the other problem with it, if I want to do a counseling face to face, I'm going to go to my local. Sometimes they're not really local. Sometimes they're 2 hours away. So they're working on that. So you can, and before we run out of time, I want to touch base. You can also use a reverse mortgage to buy a house, meaning you want to leave your big 2-story colonial because you can't navigate the stairs, maybe the neighborhood's turned, whatever the point is, and you want to move to a 55 plus community. And Olga can actually work with you on this. We can do the reverse mortgage on the house you want to buy in the 55 plus, using a portion of the down payment that you receive from the home you sold. It's becoming very, very popular, especially in this baby boomer generation coming up. And it's what we call right sizing. That house in the 55 plus may be more expensive than the colonial you just sold, but it's more right for you because now you've aged and you need a single floor layout. Maybe they cut your grass, they move the snow, blah, 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 blah. It's really becoming a popular item out with the realtors and the builders. So keep that in mind if you are thinking of moving, but you're not quite sure where or how to afford it. Qualifying for a reverse mortgage is generally easier than a forward mortgage, because we don't go through all the DTIs and the this and the that. It's just an easier program. Hope that helps you.
Yeah, I think people don't realize that they can get a reverse mortgage even if they still have another loan. It's just, I think the reverse mortgage is going to help by paying off that loan, right? And then becoming the primary, right?
That's correct. So Olga's point, if you have a $500,000, say you have a $500,000 home and you still owe $150,000, maybe you're still working, because you have to work to pay back that mortgage. Maybe you were married and you lost your spouse and now the income's a little bit more tight. We can take the reverse mortgage, pay off your existing, what we call a forward mortgage, get rid of that monthly payment, get rid of that stress that you're under every month trying to make it. You'll still be responsible for your property insurance or your property charges, but it's going to alleviate that monthly stress of you having to make a payment every single month. But if you choose to make a payment on a reverse mortgage, you can. There's nothing saying you can't pay it back. You can always throw money at the reverse if you want to kind of keep that balance from going too high. I thought, Olga, that was a good fact that you put up, that selling of the house is probably one of the top 10 most stressful events in anyone's life. I'm going to rank it as number 2 or 3 in a senior's life. Only the first stress is, will I have enough money to live? And selling a house after you've been in it for 30 or 40 years, I did it after 10 years and I wanted to kill myself. So I get your point on that whole thing. But we're here to help. If it makes sense, we're here to do what we can to make the transition much easier for you.
What happens to the home after the borrower passes away? So let's say like 2 scenarios. One would be for a solo individual, and one would be if the borrower passes away and then there's going to be surviving spouse, loved one.
Right. Let's go with the first one. The solo individual, they pass away. Someone's going to get the house, kids, grandkids, church, whoever. They will then be responsible to pay back the reverse mortgage. They can sell it if they want to sell it, just like a regular mortgage. You get a payoff from the servicing department. You sell the property. We get our money back. The equity, the remaining equity goes to the heirs or the estate, whoever that may be. If you pass away without an estate, that's an intestate process, and then they have to go through the courts or the state to go to finalize the estate. If it's a husband and wife and they pass away, if the husband passes away first, nothing changes. As long as one of the borrowers live in and own the property, the reverse mortgage never becomes due and payable. We see that quite often, obviously. We actually have a lot of couples that put the reverse mortgage in place for the eventuality of one of them passing away. That way it's set up. The surviving spouse doesn't need to go through all the rigmarole. And if the money's put into a line of credit, which is one of the payment options, they put it into the line of credit and only use that when they need it. If they never use it, it never needs to be paid back. So that's a very, very popular option when it comes to the reverse mortgage. The estate, I'm sorry.
You just made a really good point. I think a lot of people don't realize the fact that you can put it in place, but not use it until you need to use it.
Yes, that's exactly correct. So, Sherry, let me address this as well as what Olga just said. You can take the money in a variety of options. You could take out some money up at closing. We call that a lump sum. Say you want to pay off some credit cards, or you want to pay off your mortgage. That's a lump sum that we're going to advance. Maybe you want a small monthly payment, just like Social Security or pension. We can send you a check every single month. That can either be a lifetime check. So as long as you live in and own the property, we're going to send you a check. Or it can be for a specific number of years. Let's pretend it's a husband and wife, and the wife needs 24-hour care and needs some in-home health care, and it's costing them $5,000 a month, non-medical. We can send a check to the house or to the house out of the proceeds from the reverse mortgage for $5,000. Now, that may only last a couple of years because, again, it's calculated based on age, how long you need the money for, that kind of stuff. So you can have a lifetime payment. You can have a term payment, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. You can have a line of credit, to what Olga and I mentioned a moment ago, that basically says you have a bucket of money, kind of like a credit card. You have a bucket of money. You can use it when you need it, but if you don't use it, it never becomes part of your mortgage balance. Again, very popular. Or maybe a combination of those. You want to pay off a mortgage, you want a small monthly payment, and you want a small line of credit. That can all be calculated into the reverse mortgage itself. It's a very, very flexible program. And even after you close your reverse mortgage, if you want to change the payment option, you can do it for $20. I don't know why it's $20. It's always been that way since 1989. And then because our lives change as we age, and maybe I need a little bit more money, maybe I want to convert the line of credit into a monthly payment, we can do all that for you. Good questions.
Perfect. I think you covered just about everything that I thought was important for people to know about reverse mortgage. It's a great option for some, but it's not a great option for some. But what I'm trying to do is to put a clear message out there that it is a legitimate program that is great for some people. And I'm trying to dispel all the doom and gloom that is in the news that pertains to the reverse mortgage, and dealing with someone like you who specializes and lives and breathes just this type of loan is the most important thing. So
Yep.
any questions that anybody wants to pose, you are welcome to put it in the chat. Once we send out the recording and the workbook for this workshop, we're going to include Ken's contact information. I'm sure if you Google his name, it's going to pop up and you're welcome to reach out to him. Ken, can you tell us which states that you're licensed in for the reverse mortgage?
Well, the company I work for, Benchmark.
Right.
Oh, that's my podcast, by the way. It's called Senior Moments, which I thought was kind of a fun word. Benchmark is licensed in all 50 states to do reverse mortgages. I am personally licensed in New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, New York, Maryland, let me think, Texas, Florida, Arizona, California, Colorado, and a couple other ones.
Perfect, perfect. So I think the goal is that if you are not able to help someone in their state, you can put them in the right direction of someone else who is specializing like you, correct?
Correct. I guide people all day long. Now, if it's a state that I'm not licensed in, I can't talk numbers, but I get a licensed loan officer on the phone. We talk numbers, and then I do all the other heavy lifting. So yes, perfect, Olga.
Okay, so you are the overall guiding principle for it. Perfect.
I'm the conductor. I'm the conductor of the orchestra.
That's awesome. All right. Anybody else has any questions before we wrap up? I hope that you found this helpful. It's always great to have an expert, especially when it comes down to such important topics as figuring out what are your options and the resources that you have. And a lot of times people don't think about a reverse mortgage as a really good option for the biggest investment they own, which is their home.
Absolutely. Do your education is the only advice I can give you. Make sure you understand what it is or what it isn't. Good point, Olga. Thank you.
Sure. All right, everybody. Any last minute questions, comments? You are welcome to unmute yourselves, or you can post it in the chat. Or if you want to have a private conversation with Ken, that is okay as well. I will share his contact information as a follow-up to this. All right, Sherry.
Hey, Sherry.
Interestingly, some of those tough questions are the same ones we ask first-time buyers. 100%. 100%.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, Sherry. Being in this for so many years, it's prepared me for my golden years, hopefully a couple years away. And it also helps me to ask those questions to the borrowers. They don't want to answer it. Too bad. So, I just got to do what I got to do to get what I need out of them.
For sure.
I also do foreclosure counseling. Well, you do everything.
Sherry is an amazing resource and expert in Bucks County. That's for sure.
Well, Sherry, reach out to me.
We have her on speed dial. It's in my phone.
It's a good idea. Reach out to me whenever you need something, Sherry.
For sure. All right, everybody. If nothing else, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you picked up some nuggets that are helpful to you in your golden years planning. That is my number one goal, is bringing this information out to the community, and then also bringing the resources and other educators like Ken to speak to us about what matters most. So if you have any questions, please reach out. Otherwise, we're going to wrap up today. Have an amazing rest of your day, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks, all.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.